going on? So I want to explain what happened this week. So basically, this is the weekly opening price, the blue line. And this is a learning lesson for myself this week here. So let's say price is this pink line. This is exactly what happened this week. So the way I look at this every single week is I look at the weekly high and the weekly low. Okay. And what I do is I trade ICT weekly draw on liquidity. He called it one shot, one kill, one shot, one kill, OS okay. And we're looking for last week's high. So last week's high to be taken, or last week's low. This has been the main focus lately. Okay. And so this is the weekly opening price, the blue line. And what I'm going to do now is we're going to look up the last week's high and last week's low. So let's just say this is last week's high. Just make it yellow. This is last week's high here. And this is last week's low. Okay, now I got tripped up this week, but it's a learning lesson. So what happened was price ended up opening up. This is the opening price here on Sunday. So price came up and took last week's high. Now, it's important what time that it takes it and what time of the day. That's why ICT is always talking about time. What time is it? What time of day is it? You know, time meaning what time did it take it? What time meaning like the session. In this situation, it took it on London session. It took it on London session on Monday. So this is early in the week. Now, the last 3 weeks or so, prices have been taking out last week's low first. It took out the low first because I've been tracking this and profiting from it. Okay. So let me go back to price for the week. So it took out the last week's high first. And according to the way ICT teach this, it's algorithm controlling price. It should come down and take out last week's low. But what ended up happening was price ended up pushing down. I thought we was good. Price pushed all the way back up. I was tripping. Then it pushed all the way down. I'm like, yeah, we're going to take out last week's low. Like relief. And see, this is the problem with this stuff. You got to understand, you got to take some profits. That's why you got to get a good entry with multiple positions. So I could have made something here. I didn't. Definitely could have made something here. I didn't because I'm thinking we coming down here to last week's low. But something in my mind said, well, if it took last week's high, you know, maybe that's a sign it wants to go higher. But sometimes I have a lot of ICT logic and the way he thinks about the algorithm. He does say if it takes out the high first, it's most likely going to come down and take out the low. According to the structure, that could have happened too. I just don't go off of his logic. According to the structure, that could have happened. But what a price ended up doing was it went all the way back up. And then let me show you where I went short at. Let me put the shorts in red. This is where I got tripped up this week. I went short here. And then I was in drawdown all the way when this was happening. Then price went down. I'm not going to chase price. I've been taught not to do that because you can think price is going to come down here and then just hop in on the short. But then the algorithm could push price all the way back up only to come back down and take this. But it'll take you out the position if you put on too much leverage. So we don't chase price. We buy, we sell as price is going up. Okay. That's what I did right here because I thought price was going to take out the low first. I didn't think it was going to take out the high first. Okay. Because it took out the high first and I thought it was going to take the low second. So I went short there, then price spiked back up. Then I went short again. I'm like, okay, we good to go. And then price spiked up again here. And this is where I really got tripped up. Something changed here, and then price went up and took out that high. Now this is important right here. I was like, what the hell? And according to what I was looking at, I'm like, okay, it could still take out last week's low down here. But I looked at ICT's axioms and logic. It said that if it took out a high, if it made a high, it said if it makes a high early in the week and it fails to take out that last week's low, because it was supposed to, if this is last week's low and this is last week's high and this is the beginning of the price is supposed to do something like this according to the algorithm, and then start to push up. That's what I was looking for. But instead it did this here. It opened up, took out the high, failed to take the low, and then did that. When it did that right there and took out this week's high, when it took out that high right there, that's when I should have known better. But I still was foolishly holding on to, I was holding on to a preconceived bias. So price ended up doing this, and then I still was thinking, okay, well, just the structure wasn't saying it was going lower at this point, but I'm still, thinking foolishly. Like, this is just what we do sometimes. It's a psychology game. And then price just kept pushing up and pushing up. And then I actually had 3 shorts on because I went short again here. So I'm in drawdown. This price is going up. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? And luckily, I was able to get out because price ended up spiking down like this. And now it's all the way up here somewhere, currently. So when it spiked down, my shorts was obviously in this area here, these 3 shorts. So I was able to, get out of some of them, almost break even, but I still did take a loss because I was thinking this was going to happen. And so just a learning lesson, next time I see price, because see, this is a learning lesson because, I'll draw a little mini. Well, let me just pull up another page. This is a learning lesson because it could happen the opposite way. Weekly opening price. Price could take out, okay, the previous high, previous low. Say this is last week's high, last week's low. This is a learning lesson because, 4 weeks from now, something price could come down here, boom, take out last week's low. Now, remember, it's important what time it does that. Remember, the time, this is ICT, the time is like the session. What session does it do it? And what day? Because this week it did it Monday at like 1 a.m. And the market opened up at Sunday at 6. I mean, that's pretty fast, so we got to take a look at that. You got to take notes on that in a journal. So now I know if it takes out last week's high, first off, you got to have a bias for the week I was projected for price to take the low first up here. Oh, what happened? Oh, Lord. I can't even go back. Oh, there we go. So price was projected to take the low first down here. Okay, so what I'm saying is the learning lesson is, and I'm in the video, didn't know it was going to be this long. The learning lesson is next time, 4 weeks from now, when price takes out the low first, and I think it's going to take the high, but if it takes the low on a Monday, early in the morning or Sunday, then that's going to be, I'll be on high alert to know if I'm betting for it to come up here or expecting for it to come up here, it could possibly do something like this. It could do a fake out. You know, even taking out a previous high got me thinking, yeah, we coming up here. And then boom. Because once it takes out basically the whole point is I'm going to have an alert here. Because if this high, if that low is taken out and it took out last week's low early in the week, I'm like, man, if that happened, then we're just going to keep pushing down. You know, and I should be looking for shorts because that's what I learned from this week here, which is what happened this week. Thanks for watching.